talk about like, I got the OG dog team on. Talk about the OG dog team. What kind of
I, l-
your
I
experience
love it.
your experience was there? I could go to my closet and get like 15 more of these freaking crew necks that are all 101, like Gunna said.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the things that, again, as I mentioned with Frost, one of the things that that I picked up from being the student athlete under his tutelage was that working as a unit, working as we all as a team have an individual goal to win a national championship or win the state championship, state title, but when you operate as segmental small individual units and that individual unit can accomplish their goals, then the team can win together collectively. And it kind of brings back that movie. You guys seen the movie 300, I'm
Oh yeah.
assuming? And he says, Spartans, what is your profession? Oh, and so I just love the fact that small group. I'd rather have eight men thoroughly immersed in true spirit than 80 lukewarm individuals. And when we put together the dog team, it was really us versus everybody. And when we say us versus everybody, it was more of I didn't care what the offense was doing. We didn't care what the wideouts were doing. We were there to do our job. And if we did our job well and we did our job and we were successful in it, then that means that we were making the wideouts on the other side better. And if we were doing our job and we were accounted for, then we made the plays that we were supposed to, which made everybody else want to do their job. And so the beautiful thing that we kind of created out of the necessity of bringing some unity to a group of forgottens, if you will. Nobody wanted to play defense. Defense isn't sexy,
Not at Bell
or at
West,
least it
man.
wasn't at Bellevue
Bell
West.
West was known for
It wasn't
scoring
sexy at
points.
Bell West, and that's what Huffman when I went interviewed for the job, uh, and ended up subsequently volunteering. He asked me was, can you make defense? Can you make my kids want to play defense? And boy, I remember that feeling when we could get something as a unit when I was playing in college. That was something that was that I saw other groups looking at, like, man, I want a pair of shoes, man, I want a sweatshirt, man, I want one of those. Like, we doing our job too. And it was just that envy and that kind of like, nah, you guys aren't a part of what we're doing, but we're all a team, was something that was so vivid to me that
Hmm.
we had to bring back. And so when we were successful at practice defensively, um, we would take the kids out to a pizza party. We would have a za party. And so we created kind of a turnover. What would you call that, Schneider? Kind of a turnover.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. Re- Reward,
so
tradition,
we just Yeah,
the
turnover
turnover
awards,
thing.
tradition and things. Yeah. So we made it to where, if they got three turnovers in a practice, we would take them out for the za party.
Yeah,
And boy, they were trying to get those three
yeah,
turnovers. They were playing hard. And then they finally got it. And then we took them out to the za party. And it was just us as a unit, that small collective, that eight
yeah,
versus the 80.
yeah.
And everybody's like, man, we want to do that. Hey, Coach Snyder, can we take
Yeah.
a body to the job party too? So we had linemen coming up. I
Yeah.
remember Mike coming like,
I
hey,
had,
Coach, can we get, hey, Coach, I'm part of the dog team too, right, Coach? It just became kind of a cool thing that we were doing as a team, but it was special to those we coached.
Mhm.
And it was great. It was a great time.
It was so fun. Like, to even see, like you said, the other position groups or players on the team or coaches even recognize, like when you hit that third turnover, it was like it was more about the what we were about to do afterwards than it was that. Like, but
Yeah.
in turn, it like the funny thing is it made us play so much better, right? Like it just meant so much more, and it was just an added incentive. And I think that's something that you know, as I'm kind of in the position now, that's certainly something I want to be able to take with me, or recreate. Or I mean, that thing was just it was unique, and I think like the Iowa DBs had that for a while, right? Like the Doughboys, right? Like
Mm.
they were talking about that, and they had shirts, and they had, and I've that went away, and now they're not, in my opinion, not playing as good as they did in that little stretch there. And Coach Parker's getting older too, but I think like stuff like that is really significant, and so um, it was so fun.
I think that's
Absolutely. And like, go ahead, my bad.
no. I was just that's the thing I love about football, especially the defensive side. I didn't really have appreciation until I got to college for this, but just doing your job really, really well, like you hit on, and it may not make you look good. Like if you're a DB locking someone up, you might not get the ball thrown your way, and that's a great thing, and it makes everyone else on your defense really good. It allows your D lineman time to go get a sack or something like that, and I just think like that's such a cool thing you see in football that you don't get a lot of other sports, and it's just cool how it can translate to life in so many ways, just teaching you to be unselfish, do your job really well. So that's just something I've always loved about football, and it sounds like you guys were preaching that. And like, yeah, the Doughboys thing, just find ways to incentivize it other than just getting yours. Like, and maybe you can speak to that on the basketball side. Like, if you're doing your job well, often that involves getting recognition, but football it may not. So I don't know. I love that unselfish aspect of it and just doing your job well.
Yeah, I mean, on the basketball side of things, it's crazy. Like here right now, like when I'm looking up stats, like our points per game at we're a Nike program, so we're good. I'd say top 50 in the country ish. But like the crazy thing for me is like what the other stats look like now. And rebounds is fine. I feel like people clean that up, but the assist numbers are so low. It's a little bit disappointing for us as a program, and so that's certainly something that we'll address. But it just like, would you rather just have somebody walk down the court and score, or would you rather have somebody walk down the court, make a move, pass, and then score so that two people benefit, right? And it's like, and then you add to that, and like you get into the unnoticeable, like the hockey assist, right, where you make the one, right, and then he makes the extra one, and then you don't get the credit for that. But it's like it's not a stat. But if our assist numbers aren't good, then I can't imagine our hockey assist numbers are even better than that, And so it's a different thing. It's a different way of looking at it, but different sport, all that. But it's the same idea. Just being unselfish and making the right play, and being okay with not getting the recognition. But truly, like the funny thing in turn is like the real ones really recognize that stuff. And I feel like that was what it's like Desmond King, right? And this will go to Deuce Island, but like Desmond King had his best season after he won the Thorpe. He won the Thorpe, right? And then they stopped throwing at him. So it's like the dude is balling. Like he's playing better than he ever has. And his numbers don't look the same. And it was one of those things as a safety. I'm not even looking to his side, bro. If he's playing man to man, that's good. It's under wraps. The quarterback ain't looking there. The fans ain't looking there. Ain't nobody looking there because that thing's a wash, right? And so it's like, numbers can be really misleading. And it was fun, just stories like, shout out Deuce Island, right? Like, man, he was so good. He was so good that season. Preston Ames, Donnie, got the dog team tattoo. Calvin, like, shoot, it's crazy the dog team, like, and how it was bigger than football. When I was moving out, I moved twice in Omaha, and both times I had at least 3 or 4 dog team members come and help me move, and they didn't want money. They didn't, you know what I mean? Like, always take care of them, but like they didn't want nothing. Like it was just out of sheer appreciation. And so, it'll be fun for to send this to those guys and reconnect with those guys or whatever. But I know it meant a lot. It meant a lot to all of us.
Yeah, it did. And That was one thing that showing up is underrated. And that was one thing that I learned a lot from you in our 10 year of coaching together was you always showed up and you're always present and you're always knowledgeable and spoke life into these kids, man. And you had no dog in the hunt. That's the one thing that's hard to find nowadays with coaches is that can you find an individual willing to pour into your kid without any expectations for something on the back end? That's a rarity. And I can say, with all my heart that that's everything that a coach that a parent would want from a coach, and you've been there for every step of the turn for these kids, man, and that goes a long way, not just from a friend and a colleague, but as a parent, as a dad, man. That's something that you just don't find very often. So I know that these parents got to be elated to have you as their coach, man, as I was.